Before I ever even speak to a student, I look over their gameplay and gauge where their mechanical skill is up to. In doing so, I try to guess the rank based on the footage that they provide, and in one particular session, I was absolutely shocked to find out that the player that I was coaching was an Immortal 2, yet peaking and clearing angles no better than any of the gold to plat players that I've worked with. Of course, I question them, I test their knowledge, and I try and dig deeper, and it turns out that the checklist of concepts that I'd prepared to teach them, well, they literally already knew all of it. Now, to teach them things that they already know would just be a waste of time and money, and instead, I help our student to deeply understand how they're establishing bad habits without even realizing, and how it's creating immense levels of stress, tension, and confusion throughout their comp games. My goal was to show them that they can optimize their learning process so much so that they cue their games with a newfound level of trust in their skills, and most importantly, the confidence to frag out. Here on the Zasko 3 channel, I specialize in mechanical coaching, and if that's your thing, I hope you enjoy the video. Hello.
How are you doing?
Very good. First of all, I just need to understand exactly where you're at. What rank were you at the moment?
I'm at 170 RR, Immortal 2, peak 202, and I have a 17.7% headshot.
That makes sense. With your gunfights, there's a level of composure that I really like. The finer details as to how you're setting yourself up for the fight, not expecting certain things, getting caught off guard by things that you should have expected and stuff like that. That was what was missing. But the gunfights itself, your ability to click on the head and not panic, that is good. So what the idea is to just build around that. We just need to set up that raw aim a bit better, but let me explain by showing you my thoughts anyways. By the setup, what I'm referring to is this first example here.
I see.
Right here, you're in a comp game, you're taking garage. Whether you're going fast or slow, in this case you're going fast, right? Because it's a garage rush. There's potentially a player on C site, okay? Let's just say almost guaranteed there's a player on C site, but maybe not guaranteed, but it would just be troll not to be prepared for a C fight anyways, right?
Yep.
We're holding this, I'll say hypothetical, this is smoked off, right? Because we don't even pay attention to it anyways. Hypothetical, this is smoked off, perfect. The only thing we're worrying about is this C site here. Well, we need to, set ourselves up in a way that aligns with how we want to peak. So if I play this forwards, in this position here, you've got two choices. You can go path A, or you can go path B. And maybe you can remember which decision you chose, maybe not, but do you have an idea in mind of which one you'd go towards and why?
I feel like in this spot, I probably went just straight towards the doorway, but I think if I was trying to be optimal in a comp game, I would probably try to trace by the back wall.
Be the reasoning for that?
Just for the angle advantage, being able to not overexpose myself and everything like that.
Of course, yeah. Okay, so you understand the concept, but of course, when we play out this clip, we do go straight to the doorway. There could have been a threat here. There could have been a threat anywhere here, to be specific. There could have been someone close, far, someone close, someone far, the same angle, and anywhere in between, you know what I mean? There could have been someone anywhere. The approach that we took was to get close to the wall, expose ourselves to everything, and then peek it as if we're slicing the pie anyways. We peek out, we stop, and we shoot. There's two reasons why I don't like this, and you've got one of them down, which is you've got terrible angle advantage here, so you have to go wide. I mean, you're extremely tradable. You can't take the one, you can't disappear, you don't have any room for error. You have to hit that shot or you die. And if there's multiple people, then you have to get a spray transfer or you have to burst both of them, which is unlikely. You'll probably get traded. That's the main thing, and that's the most obvious one that you're aware of is ideally we're slicing the pie from further back. The second thing that is probably less obvious is you're taking away potential options that you could have if you did slice the pie. The close fight I always associate with commitment. You are extremely committed and it's obvious you're going for this fight to the death. That's the core concept that I kind of associate with getting close to the wall and peeking out is you have to commit because you can't slice the pie. You're close to the wall and you go wide. There's a very good situation where you should use this, but it's not your first option. It's not your go-to. And by moving in the way that you did, what it strips you of is the ability to initially open with slicing the pie, right? And using that angle advantage, conditioning the enemy's crosshair, and then going wide and then finishing the kill because you can commit while they've got really bad crosshair placement. I got the enemy POV here. look, I sliced the pie there, cool. I'm conditioned to think that he's likely gonna re-swing that same angle. I'm not gonna immediately position my crosshair wide, but then they go wide and we can have a look at the difference. I was anticipating here, but their head is here. Like, yes, if we look at the fight you took, like, that's a clean fight. That's cool, right? What happens when you don't hit that shot? You're stuck in this committed fight with absolutely no advantage. It's just a 50-50 in comp where this person isn't running like a maniac. This person's actually trying to fight you. I would associate that with a lower headshot percentage, because what would happen is you would swing. You're now stuck in this committed fight. You're extremely committed. You've got no escape, especially, yeah, there's just too much going on. KJ turret starts shooting you. You got two people holding a high-low. Like, good luck getting out of that. You're committed. What's going to happen from there is you're going to panic, you're going to tense up, and you're going to start spraying. And that's where your headshot percentage drops dramatically, because you lack that composure. You lack that cool, calm collectedness about you, because why the hell would you be calm? You've got no escape. You have to win this fight, bro. Like, this is do or die. So setting ourselves up for success is like key here. My approach, I'm going to open with this. Cool. I'm still not stressed at all here. I'm so chill, even in the most like clutch 1v2 situation, because I've got options, and that's how the brain works, is if you've got options, it knows what to do, it doesn't stress out. Now, right. I know that I'm going into this wide swing. I'm also not going to be stressed, because I know that I've just conditioned his crosshair, and I'm going to commit, and I'm going to break his crosshair placement hard. He's going to miss his first shot, and I'm going to have every advantage under the sun. I'm going to be able to like peek. He's going to shoot to the left or right, whatever he does here. Or he panics, maybe flicks, I don't know what he's doing, but I'm moving. I'm able to like visually acquire the target whilst moving, so it's like no time wasted. And then the second I stop, I'm going to kill him. So basically, I'm so confident in this situation, right? And that confidence leads to composure, and that composure leads to better tension management and better mechanics overall. All of this, right, could be negated by the mindset of, yeah, I do this in DM, but it's not what I do in comp. But this is where I would say we're now making an even bigger mistake. What's going to happen when you're in... Yeah, I'll let you go. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I guess deathmatching, I don't know if this is what you were going to say, but playing deathmatch this way probably isn't optimal. Like, I think maybe just like trying to clear angles the exact same way I would in a comp game would maybe be more ideal, rather than just like looking for as many fights as I can.
100%. And I can explain the why behind that. And it's because what is lacking in this, and what's stopping you from thinking I should go to the right and I should clear the angle properly, what's stopping you from doing that is the lack of stress, right? Instead of capitalizing on the fact that deathmatch is not stressful, we're instead kind of like a bit bored by it, and then we start playing more unrealistically or improper because we can, and it's more entertaining and that sort of things. But then we go to comp. Comp adds in this layer of stress, and then with this newfound layer of stress, your brain doesn't think, and that's what happens when you stress. Like when you're stressed and you're playing in those high pressure situations, your brain isn't just making cool, calm, collected decisions. It's your body reacting like as it knows how to do and what it's been practicing doing. So one of two things, we either like don't know the correct technique, which we know is not the case because you've told me like what you should do and it's spot on. Then option number two is that we're not practicing it. It's one thing to learn something, but it's another thing to practice it and get repetitions in. And whatever you get repetitions doing, that's what your brain's going to revert to under stress. And that's why practicing deathmatch properly is like more important than anything on the planet Earth. Because yeah, well, practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. You'll just go under stress, you'll stop clearing your angles because that's what you've practiced doing. Under stress, you'll stop pathing correctly because that's what you do in practice, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
There was there was another example as well. So first of all, I'm going to just tell you every time you've died to someone, and by died to someone, I want you to imagine the situation. You've been caught off guard. What happens when you're caught off guard? You panic, you flick, you probably start crouch spraying, you probably start tensing up. You've just been caught off guard in a stressful 1v2. I want you to associate every line with a situation where your headshot percentage drops because you lack composure, right? So there's your line number one.
Okay.
There's line number two and probably line number three. And we're already, technically someone could be here because there's the box in the middle of sight. Now, yeah, so you had the person that was out wide from this box. You've now got the person tucked underneath plat. We're starting to get closer to people, like, you know what I mean? There's so many angles that we didn't respect. Yeah. And all we're doing is setting ourselves up for failure when we retake C. We're going to retake C on a like clutch ass situation. Your whole team's going to be watching you. You're going to be panicking because this is for match point or something of the sort. Everything is on the line. You need to like win this round, and you feel that your brain goes fight or flight. And it's like, all right, we've practiced this. I'll just do what I've practiced. And then you rush out C without clearing a single thing. Panic, spray. It's like, it'll be the most embarrassing thing ever. You want to like get yourself in a position where even if you're stressed, you've repped out this exact pathing a million times with the correct technique in your deathmatch. Every time you get this, because this is a spawn right here, you'll spawn here consistently. Every time I get this spawn, I come and path this way, but I clear it as if I would clear in like a high stakes tournament. I'm clearing every angle, and then cool, like I spot this guy, I'll try and kill him straight away. If I don't, then I get close to this wall, go wide, and like play it as if it's a retake scenario. And by doing that, we're going to set ourselves up for success. Like, we get the kill, but I don't think it was a good kill. I think that it was a bad repetition. I think it was an unhealthy repetition. And what I want to see from yourself is a net positive of healthy, good repetitions over your bad repetitions, because whatever outweighs the other is what you're going to do in your comp games. The next one though, this is an interesting one. So I said there was one area of aim training that was holding you back, but all your other areas are really good. In my opinion, it's tracking. When you're tracing an angle, it's very bumpy, and therefore it impacts your crosshair placement, and therefore it impacts the fight that you end up taking. If someone had only ever practiced static flicking, you'd imagine that every single time they move their mouse, it's like as if they're flicking to another static target. So like there, right there, you saw that, right? So we get on the angle right here. We're now on the angle, and we should be tracing this angle because we have mega angle advantage. As you go out, you want your crosshair to stay at this distance. What we see though is our mouse doesn't move, and then we move it to like get closer again, and then, well, of course, this is where it starts to get more extreme. We flick to the right because some kind of stress just kicked us into gear, like some kind of habitual habit said we got to go back, but then we go forwards, and then we start pre-aiming, and then heaps happens. We get this kill, but there was so much, like, especially in these last few seconds, so many like mouse movements that were like really unnecessary. And all that's going to do is, once again, increase tension, increase stress. Like, this is what I want you to pay attention to when I say stability in my aim, and like almost a cool, calm collectedness about where my crosshair is moving. So I pre-aim because I have angle disadvantage, I trace, and then I just click on the head. There's no extra fluff at all. If we think of how Primi plays in comparison to the way that we aim here in this situation, very static, flick right, flick left, flick right, very staticky, right? But then we compare to a player like Primi, the way he's tracing the angle, smooth, tracing the angle, smooth, comes to this one, he's tracing it perfectly, and then he gets that kill as well. It looks like he's not playing Valorant in a sense that he's like, he's putting that much of an emphasis on his tracking and his fluidity. It just doesn't feel like it's the same game. Like Valorant is supposed to be, you know, oh, just peek and click, right? But there's this element of smoothness and fluidity that you get from training your tracking that heavily impacts your crosshair placement, which then impacts your composure, which then impacts your gunfights and your headshot percentage subsequently. So I hope that makes sense. That's like the aim side of it. I'll expand in a second on like what I mean by the mental side, on the bigger picture side. But do you understand what I mean by the aim?
Yeah, I get what you mean. In terms of like raw aim, like Kovacs tracking, I actually have like pretty decent scores. They could be better, but like I don't think I'm really applying it in game in the same way. Like I'm practicing it, but I'm not really applying it. Like I'm not remembering to really like lock in on it.
That's good to know, because there was a clicking moment for me. I'd been like in a similar spot where I'd practiced my tracking heaps and I thought my tracking scores were really good and stuff like that. I literally watched this Primi clip and I was like, but I don't track like this. when I use my, like, when I'm playing Valorant, I'm so like left, right, jittered. And I was sitting in a custom game by myself and it kind of clicked and I was like, the feeling of how I hold my mouse when I'm moving around and navigating the map and using my crosshair placement to set up good gunfights. If I can connect the dots between my tracking practice and the feeling of that, as well as me tracing an angle and the feeling of that, like once I connected those two things, then they like started to really integrate. The tracking really integrated into my gameplay. Just view this. What clicked in my mind was this exact little point right here. It's very small. It's smaller, right? You want head level and you want to be at a good distance to catch them, even if they're swinging you. This little red dot here is the Kovacs target. This is the bot that's moving to the left as you move to the right. And once that clicked in my mind, I was really able to start implementing my tracking into the actual game. But of course, I don't see that here. So it obviously tells me maybe spend 10 minutes in a custom game, just like picking an angle and like getting a feel that this is a Kovacs target and you want to be on that spot, right? Trying to connect the dots between the two, that'll help a lot.
Do you think that it's worth going into a custom and just like clearing angles like you would in a comp game? I feel like maybe in DM that would be efficient, but I haven't tried it personally.
I've done it a lot. And it makes a huge difference. Whether you are killing someone or whether you're not killing someone and you're in an empty custom game, you're getting a repetition in, right? We want, like I said earlier, a net positive good to bad repetition ratio. We want to make sure all our repetitions are good. All you're doing by getting into a custom game is eliminating the stress of DM or the distraction of DM. For example, winning the DM is something that will always be on your mind. It's just a distraction, right? At the end of the day, what you're looking for is repetition. So if you then take yourself into a custom game, eliminate all distractions, eliminate all stress, eliminate all potential for bad technique, and you sit there just practicing crosshair placement, what you're doing is getting in repetition after repetition after repetition. You could sit there and get in 100 repetitions, 5 times as much as you get in a death match, all with perfect technique. You're going to walk away from that session with like a 99% good repetitions done versus bad repetitions done. Like that'll be really good for you. What you'd be able to do from there is then take that to your death match. And now you've got the added distractions, but hey, can you still maintain that 99% good crosshair placement? And then if 99% of the deathmatch time you spend is good crosshair placement, the second you queue into comp, you're going to be playing with good crosshair placement. Does that like kind of make sense? The mindset that I have around that?
Yeah, that 100% makes sense.
Yeah, easy. Taking that concept of stability, it's just a very broad term that I want to use because the next timestamp was a case where stress took over, and I don't know what approach we're taking in this situation when it comes to our actual peaking decision. What is it that we're trying to do here? Obviously, in the moment, you're not making this decision, you're not thinking about it, but there was a micro decision made subconsciously on how we're gonna take this fight, and you decide to go wide, then you decide to trace this angle, and then we didn't take enough time because we didn't think he was there, but then he was there, so we micro step to the right, and it's like really messy. It's hard to describe in words what has happened, but the overall theme of this specific fight is a lack of composure, a lack of confidence, a lack of conviction in the move that you're making. At the end of the day, if I was in that position, I would say I'm way too close to the box to slice the pie because I'll thrash myself with angle disadvantage. I can hear footsteps and I have information, which is good. And he doesn't know that I'm here necessarily. Maybe does, maybe doesn't. Honestly, it's not a bad thing to just commit fully with conviction to the wide swing, go like fully wide, just use your proper wide swing technique. Exact scenario would be literally this here. Is like, there's nothing stopping you from just throwing him off guard. Like he's not going to expect a random wide swing from... It's going to be the same thing. He's running. He's not ready for you. And the reason I say like I go for a wide swing here is not whether the wide swing is the best or worst decision to make. It's that we kind of chose an in-between, a messy in-between that was not like here. Yeah, there's no ability to stop shoot, but then there's also no movement to assist you in this. There's no element of surprise besides the fact that maybe didn't anticipate you there. There's no wide swing. You're not creating stress for the enemy. Like how stressful is it when someone just wide swings you randomly, you know? That's like a missed opportunity to really capitalize on. Does that make sense? Like the lack of stability there is like, we just need to be firm in our decisions. We need to be making every move with conviction. Here, we don't slice, so we go wide and we just destroy this guy with confidence and conviction, and we just do it properly instead of somewhere in between.
Yeah, I definitely see what you mean there. Like, it's a very, like, kind of limbo type fight. Like, there's not really any decision being made. It's sort of... I see what you mean with the...
Yeah, exactly right. The limbo, yeah. It's just a very common, dangerous place to be. And it comes from not really having a good idea of what you can do in the first place. There's literally not even a fight here, right? But I noticed it straight away. I was like, this showcases exactly what I'm referring to when I say a lack of stability. So we get this kill. And now, okay, we're pre-aiming here. You allowed, I can't tell you because I don't have it in my editing software, but this is at 0.25 speed. I would argue that you allowed like less than maybe 150 milliseconds to process whether someone was even here or not. That's like thing number one. So what would happen is if there was someone there, you're already moving your crosshair away and then you're going back. And then in that time, they could move. So then you have to chase them again. That's where the messy shots come in, right? It's like you miss the opportunity to kill that person and then you have to go chase it, but then they're moving and you have to react to them moving and it becomes messy and cluttered. And then messy and cluttered leads to stress. Stress leads to tension. Tension leads to panic sprays. Then we continue and we're clearing the off angles. So angle number one, instantly go to the second one. We moved our crosshair to about here, but then we're like, oh, no, wait, we're not really pre-aiming that. So then we move it again. Once again, in that time where we're moving the crosshair, if someone was there, we're moving it away from the person without processing whether they're there or not. Cool. We see this person, we move to the left, we move to the right, and then we move on. I'm not gonna lie, like if someone was there, you're pretty much dead. Like very guaranteed. Or you're just in a really awkward fight. Very stressful, uncomfortable. Not only that, but I mean, like there's a jet holding you with an AWP right here. You know what I mean? And I don't know, then you flick to the jet, but then it turns out there was someone here as well. So now you're shooting this person, but you're getting shot by this person, you panic. What we need to do is like slow it down a tiny bit. You've got heaps of space to back up. We can back up and we should keep that in mind. After killing the sage here, if I know that there's a threat short, I by default am looking towards short and walking this way, just so that I can isolate more anglers and I can allow myself the comfort of, you know, knowing that I can slice the pie one by one. Because if you're further back, you can isolate this one, you can isolate this one, you can isolate the off angle, take them one by one. Then what you get shot at, you've got room to fall back because you're not overcommitted. Then you can catch them off guard with a wide swing, or if you're playing, you know, jet, pop dash, go wide. Whatever toolkit you've got, then you know you can really utilize it. But at the end of the day, if you get caught off guard, you can't even use your U-tool anyways. Makes sense? This is another example of like that stability concept I was talking about.
Yeah, I think it's honestly just like laziness, I think, because like a lot of these concepts like you're aware of, but to take the time to actually implement them and like practice them correctly is kind of, it's something I need to be more focused on.
I can only imagine how annoying it is having me come to you and tell you things that you already know. But at the end of the day, we're seeing it in the gameplay. So what it means is that you're aware of it, but you're not willing to put in the work to actually solve the problem. Or maybe you just don't know the importance of it. I can tell you now that learning something is completely different to practicing something. You can learn a concept, but without practice, it means nothing. Without learning something and then you try and practice it, you're probably practicing the wrong thing once again. And at the end of the day, it all comes down to just like making sure you're actually practicing the things that you want to perform and do. Like, what do you want to do when you are re-clearing sight from the box? That's up to you to decide, but you can't decide it with just simply knowledge. You decide it by giving your brain repetitions of this exact scenario. And you can either do that in deathmatch, or if you like really just want to isolate this hard, spend like 5 minutes a day going in a custom game in this exact same position and clearing it exactly how you want to, and watch like in 3 days time of doing that, like you'll play your comp, you'll see yourself in this position and you'll clear it without even thinking the exact way that you want to. But that's only possible if you put in the repetitions. This is where I always argue against the mindset of you know, just play comp. It's like, you just play comp, cool, but at least put 1 hour towards extra practice where you can change the way that you actually play comp. Does that make sense? Is like, you need to, or even half an hour of just custom game time at the end of a day, or half an hour of aim training where you want to actually change something about your comp. That's important. Otherwise, you're practicing the same habits over and over again. You're practicing the same way to clear back sight over and over again. It's like a firm belief that I have is comp is the benchmark, and then the time where you're allowed to sit with your gameplay and just tweak it and like change it and consciously make decisions about it, that's the time where you're developing. And there's a little bit of that when you're in comp, like especially when you're winning, right? Say you're 8 rounds ahead and you're like, I'm going to get creative, there's no stress, you know you've got the win. Like that's when you'll sort of see a little bit, but I don't know, why limit yourself to just that tiny fraction of time where you can develop when you could just literally make it happen every single day and learn something new every day by practicing things and instilling them into your brain. Now, I know this one's going to bother you. I know this one's going to bother you because it's just what we spoke about. But I watched this and the first thing came to mind, okay? I'm like I know you know the answer to this. When I saw this, I was like, okay, maybe this is like, he's a lower rank player. He hasn't put in the time. He doesn't know but then you tell me you're Immortal 2 and I'm like, okay, my mindset changes now. This isn't a problem where you don't know the answer to, because if I ask you what angles to clear, bro, and where people could be right now, you're going to tell me all the right answers. You're going to tell me here, 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 here. You're going to tell me everything that I want to hear, right? But when we watch the gameplay back, you swing so like confidently into every single fight with no care in the world. It's only a repetition that's gonna hardwire this into your brain further. It must be through laziness, it must be through whatever, but yeah, basically my point is that I know you know the answer to what angles you should clear, and when we watch back this footage, I'm sure that you'll think to yourself, yeah, like maybe that's a little bit troll.
Oh.
Like maybe it's a little bit troll. And this is like, again, it's like, I don't know, man, like, you know the answer to this, but what are you practicing? And this is how you're going to perform in comp. Like you're going to be in a retake. You're coming from B site. One of two things are going to happen, right? Option A is you don't think about your crosshair placement at all. And what's going to happen is you're going to revert to what you practice, right? Which is just swinging. But option 2 is that you're playing comp and subconsciously and consciously, you don't fully trust yourself to perfectly clear these without thinking. Because hey, at the end of the day, when you play deathmatch, you don't clear them without thinking. Or when you practice in any other situation, like you're rushing, you don't clear them without thinking. Instead, we do this. What's going to happen if you don't trust yourself is then you're going to start thinking about your crosshair placement. Hey, I'm playing comp. I need to put conscious effort towards my crosshair placement because these fights could be, you know, these people could be here. If you put conscious thought towards that, that conscious thought is taken away from your raw aim. That conscious thought is taken away from your movement. That conscious thought is taken away from your awareness of what's happening in the game and how many players are left and what ults are active and whatever. If you can't trust yourself to perform a perfect like angle clear, and like, of course, this is like with anything. This goes with anything. If you can't trust yourself to perform this task, but you know it needs to be done, and then you start thinking about making sure you do it properly, you're taking away from, you know, other areas. Basically is the point. I could ramble on about that for ages, but attention points. Have you heard me talk about the concept of attention points before?
No, I have not.
So you've got a pool. I'm going to just draw it up as a bar. You've got a pool of attention points and we're going to call it AP. If you're not focusing on anything, this whole bar is empty and you have basically a whole bar's worth of AP to allocate, right? If you then start consciously thinking about, or unconsciously, whatever it is, it takes your attention. Let's say your movement, right? You're thinking about your movement because you've been working on it recently and you know that you got to counter strafe in this certain way and you can't do, you know, this specific crouching pattern and you want to change it up, right? If you're thinking about your movement, this takes up a portion of your bar. Maybe it's not much because it's a small detail, but that's starting to fill up and, you know, that's like 20% of your attention points that you've got able to allocate. Now, let's say you've got another chunk fat chunk taken up because you've got toxic teammates that are screaming their heads off, distracting you, and you're worrying about the team, right? You're like, oh, their mental's crumbling. Dude, like, everyone relax, we got this, or whatever it is. Or maybe you're tilted, and maybe you're the one that's pissed off, and you're putting attention towards being tilted. Then we've got the actual like in-game processes, the ults that are being used, the way the game is playing out, tendencies, enemy tendencies, all sorts of things. And then we've got like raw aim. I could keep going. There's so many things that happen in Val, right? You've got raw aim, this and that. This bar will always be full. And if you're not focused and you're thinking about other things, it's because this bar is just full of random junk, right? It's thinking about random junk that you don't need, right? If you do not trust your ability to relax and without thinking perfectly clear these angles, you now have to waste attention points making sure that you do clear it properly, because you're going to get to this point, you're going to be like, oh, I don't trust myself to do it, so I gotta really consciously make sure I do it right. Cool, bang, 30% of your attention points in this retake are now gone. You can only reallocate attention points, you cannot add them. So what are you taking away from? Are you taking away from your raw aim? Or are you taking away from your movement? Are you taking away from your awareness? Are you taking away from something else? And the reality is you don't have a choice. What's going to happen is you're going to be so focused on making sure you clear these angles properly that you're not even going to realize it, but you're death gripping the shit out of your mouse because you just no longer are thinking about your tension, you're no longer relaxed, or you just like completely forget about the Gecko ult that's like, you know, he's got Gecko ult, you completely forget about that because all your thoughts being wasted here. How is this negated? Long story short, I know it's a fat ramble, sorry, but long story short, this is negated all by making sure that every rep we put into practice is what we want to do in comp. That way we can trust our brain to perform what it knows it needs to do, and we can stop thinking about it. I don't think about how I clear angles when I take sight. I never think about it because I know that I've put in heaps of work in it. I know that I can clear angles well. I have this like almost like ego about my space contacting. I'm very confident that when I contact space and I'm like retaking, I've been shift walking this whole time and I'm clearing my angles one by one, I just know that that's like a thing I've practiced, and I'm confident because I put the practice in. And what that allows me to do is free up my mind completely, and now I can think about my raw aim. Now I can think about the Gecko ult. Now I can think about the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's actually incredibly helpful.
Yeah, it's a concept I got from League of Legends player Dopa, some kind of mythical legend, because he was just that good, and he like leaked some of his concepts and strats, and then I built upon it, and I was like, dude, this is genius. I need to tell people about it. Yeah, it's important to understand. So long story short, how do you optimize your attention points? By downloading things subconsciously. How do you download things subconsciously? By actually performing them in practice the way that you want to download subconsciously. Because if you do the other thing, then fuck, you're gonna get into comp and you're gonna have to consciously think about it because you haven't put in the reps properly. That's how that works. Kind of like in a very simplified way. Any questions?
No, I think this is honestly like exactly what I needed to hear. I think like I've been aware that crosshair placement has been like pretty much my biggest issue, at least in terms of my mechanics. Like the way I'm clearing angles, it all like feels very uncomfortable still. And most of the time I'm just relying on like calling, I'm relying on like trying to make the right play. But when it comes down to just like the micro fundamentals, I feel like it's always been something that I've been lacking on, just because of the fact that up until somewhere on like high ascendant, I didn't put in any reps, and now that I'm in immortal and I'm trying to put in the reps, they're like incredibly suboptimal.
Yeah, understood. Well, like I did the DM review just before as well, and the thread is that I got was just number one, we need to optimize our peaking technique. So step one is you've learnt it, right? And you learnt it well before this call, right? But you just didn't practice it. And what does that mean? You learned something, but you didn't practice it, and therefore you're not seeing it in comp. But when I call you out on it and I say, hey, what should you do here? Since you've learned it, you conceptually know it, but you just haven't practiced it, right? So the first step for you is just practice your peaking technique. It's just as simple as that. Get your buddy into a custom game and just perfectly peak him the way that you think you should perfectly peak. And do that on repeat and make sure that in a day, 90% of the peaks you do are optimal. And then you'll start to see that in your gameplay. Review clips. Watch your gameplay back. Watch your gameplay back and think, oh, hey, I've still got this bad habit. When I retake C, every single time I skip over this specific angle. From there, go into a custom game, practice that specific angle. Watch your games back with mechanics in mind and you'll develop your mechanics. It's like you won't be able to watch yourself make a mistake without physically cringing and being like, I didn't clear it again. That'll be in your mind. The next time you play comp, you'll probably clear it. And then that's a repetition in the positive. you'll also watch your gameplay and be able to see if you're still peaking bad. And the simple thing is, I mean, if you're still peaking bad, you've got to practice. And playing comp, peaking bad is only bad practice. You need to get into a custom game, practice your peaking, get a buddy and whatever. Like, it needs to be good practice. Good practice will get you where you want to get. Stability, that whole concept we spoke about. Confidence, calmness, tracking, that's like the category. Basically, just make sure you allow yourself enough time to actually process the sounds, visual cues, and the decisions that you want to make in a game. When you peak something, don't peak it 50 milliseconds later to the next angle, because you haven't given yourself enough time to read the sounds, read the visuals, read the situation, and make some kind of decision on what you should do next. Instead, you're just rushing through every single motion. And it's not something you consciously do. Like, I'm not saying peak something and then start sitting there and thinking to yourself like, oh yeah, I need to take this fight next and I should take this fight. Oh, but I haven't, like, it's not like that. It's just slow down the pace by like 200 to 400 milliseconds between every single subconscious decision you make. So you peak an angle, don't peak another angle for 200 milliseconds, because you need to give yourself time to read the sounds, visuals, and make a decision. Are you taking a gunfight? You don't know that in less than 200 milliseconds, unless you've got a 150 millisecond reaction time. You don't know if you're supposed to be taking a gunfight or not in 150 milliseconds. So to move your mouse after 90, you haven't given yourself enough time to read if someone's there. So basically slow the pace down dramatically. Consistent smooth tracking scenarios, honestly, scratch that. Don't stress about that, because if you've got good confidence scores, it's about integration, and we need to integrate that into the gameplay, and we do that by jumping into a custom game and just getting in proper reps. You'll be intuitively aware of which angles you should trace and when you should trace and whatever. That's just something everyone kind of like intuitively decides what they preamp versus trace. It comes down to whether you have angle advantage or disadvantage. Find times where you should trace and just simply trace them like you're tracing a Kovacs target. Same thing. That's all you need to do for that. And then I said, once again, learn our angles, because I was coming into this with the mindset that you don't know your angles because I watched you not clear any. But scratch that again. It's practice respecting them. It's practice the right technique, so that you're not practicing it so that you can improve the technique. Like, it, right? You're not learning here. You know the angles you're meant to clear. The reason you're practicing is just solidify the shit out of it in your brain so that you do not have to think about it at all. Yeah, and I gave some of the points I mentioned over here. Like, consider stress. In comp, your brain will not think when you're under stress. It just simply does, and you might know exactly what angles to clear. But if in your DMs you don't clear them, you're going to revert back to not clearing them when you're under stress. If you don't know your angles, yeah. And once again, this is me coming with the approach that you didn't know your angles, but you do know your angles. I guess they're the main three things. And it all comes down to a bit of extra effort. I'm not saying spend 3-4 hours a day doing anything insane, drills and custom game. I think like 20 minutes at the end of your session where you just chuck on the most ambient chill tunes, relax, take out all the stress in the world, and just clear the angles that you want to develop. That will change your crosshair placement. If you want to work on your pacing, just sit there in a custom game, clearing angles at a slower pace. If you want to work on respecting angles, set this like mental intention that someone really could be there, and respect that angle and respect every angle and approach it as you should if you're going to use the correct technique. That's pretty much what it comes down to. I mean, yeah, if you're Immortal 2 now, you've probably got some hectic game sense under your belt in terms of like your understanding of the game and how you get yourself to win consistently to rank up to Immortal 2. Like, I'm the opposite. If you look at my tracker, I've got a 36% headshot percentage, and like my peak of all acts was like 40% or something like that. And I get to Immortal 2. I'm Immortal 2 at the moment. But my game sense is underdeveloped, and that's my bottleneck that stops me from getting to the next level. Immortal 3 consistently, Radiant, stuff like that, right? I'm the opposite to you, right? That's why I'm the mechanical coach, not the game sense coach, because I need my game sense up. But what my point is that, bro, like, just take this from me and combine it with whatever got you to Immortal 2 in the first place, bro, and you will skyrocket. So just try and respect this practice as much as possible.
Do you want to just like do a fusion dance and we could just become a Radiant player immediately?
Dude, I wish that was a thing, bro. Like, I'd do it in a heartbeat, bro.
Yeah, no, I 100% get what you mean. I think I'll start like incorporating somewhere on like 30-45 minutes a day of just like custom game DM angle clearing, like hard focusing. I think
that's it.
Like When I play DM, because I don't like playing DM. I think it's really, really boring and it's like really frustrating, but I think I'm just like approaching it in the entirely wrong way.
And moving forwards from now, you'll intuitively figure out like what the right way for you is and what it's based on what you want to work on, bro. So if you want to work on your wide swings, you'll intuitively find a way to work on that. And you'll get to a point where it doesn't matter that you get shot in the back because, hey, every time I don't get shot in the back, I'm getting in good repetitions. Yeah, it's just a part of it. But yeah, any other questions from yourself, man?
Yeah, I think I sent in those comp clips way too late, so that's my bad. But yeah, no, that like pretty much everything you said is like pretty much spot on for me. I think it was exactly like 100% what I needed to hear.
You would be able to watch back your own VOD now with all of this in mind and be like, okay, hang on, 3 times in a row, I didn't clear backside. I should clear backside. And practice that a little bit. In your comp games, you'll start to develop that and then bang, you'll be sweet. I think it'll all change like dramatically from here on out.
I definitely think so, because even when I VOD review and I don't even look at the mechanical side most of the time. Most of the time, I'm just trying to figure out what decision I'm making and how it could be improved. But
that's so funny. I'm the opposite, bro. I'm like fully the opposite. I only look at mechanics to the point where I get roasted for it. Like people are like, dude, shut up about the mechanics, man. Like your game sense. But this is the way it is. Balance.
Right, I understand it now.
He understands it. That's good. Well, thank you so much for your time, dude. And I hope you enjoyed the session. Hope you get a lot out of it.
Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate it.
All the best, man. Send me a message like in a few weeks' time and let me know like where you're up to, how it all goes, stuff like that. And I'd be interested just to know like if it actually did have much impact.
I appreciate it.
All the best, man. Take care.